Everybody, eyes up here.
You have failed this city.
Wow. I know, right? Hey! Quit messing around!
I'm not messing around. I'm doing important stuff.
Welcome. Okay. Gives you the right. What's the difference between you and me?
I'm not wearing hockey pads.
But that is being human.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to, typically Thursday nights, but it's the Watchtower. We talk all things DC. What's going on, everyone? Glad you can make it. We've got quite a few people in here right now, which is awesome to see. We have Hope for Life in here. He's excited. He says, good news, picked up Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow comic so that I can read that very excited to read it right after I finish reading Batman Hush comic. That's awesome. Hush is a great comic, so I'm glad you get to read that. We got Amari in here, says, sup Amari, sup. We got Trayvon in here. Howdy folks, it's good to be back. I don't know why I had to do that in an accent. It just sounded like the right thing to do. Critic Chris is in here as well. Says, hey, Slav, everyone, what is going on? Now, you may notice this is a little bit of a different program I'm using today. So this is kind of a test to see if this program works better or worse. I'm hoping the audio sounds okay. Trayvon says, I'm guessing that other stream didn't work out. Yeah, we were talking a bit, and he asked me, we talked a little bit today. He asked me how long my stream usually goes for. I told him it goes about an hour, and then he never got back to me. So I don't know. But anyways, so this is this is the new program I'm going to try and start using here. Hopefully the audio is good. I was testing it out earlier today. The audio sounded low to me. I've tried everything to try and get it up. So hopefully it sounds good to you. Maybe it's just my headphones or my computer. I don't know, but let me know in the comments if you think this is good, if it's not good. We're going to work through the kinks and through the hiccups here because this is a very different type of program than I've ever used before. It's going to allow me to do a lot more different things than I've done before. It's going to make it look different, nicer, I think. And I hope that it's going to make things run smoother in the long run. So that's my hope, and with this new program. So moving on, I hope you guys had a good week. Yes, Fantastic Four did come out this yesterday, and today's the opening day technically. I know this is a DC centric show, but honestly I went and saw it, and I'm not going to give a whole big review. That video is going to drop here in a few hours on my channel, but I will say that I walked out of the film, I came out of the film and I was like, I wasn't bored with it. I wasn't upset with the film. There was never a moment in the movie where I was like looking at my watch, like, oh, is this movie almost over? And there wasn't anything that I like sat there and said, man, that was terrible. That was trash. That was horrendous. But it still is not at the top of my list. It still did not make the top of my list for the superhero films this year. So, again, I encourage you, if you are an MCU fan, if you're a Marvel fan, go watch it. It's not a boring movie. It does have its flaws, just as Superman had its flaws, just as Thunderbolts, just as Captain America had its flaws. None of these movies have been perfect this year, but it's definitely not the best this year, and it's definitely not the best Marvel movie either. So, I mean, take that as you will. It's good. There's definitely some issues. Like I said, my full review will come out later tonight. I don't know exactly what time after this show. I got to get some things done, and then that'll come out and all this stuff. But Anyway, just be on the lookout for that tonight, or you can watch it tomorrow. It will probably have some spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled, go see the movie first, then watch that review. All right. Randula asks, did you like it more than Superman? Well, to be honest, no. I did not like it more than Superman. However, I'm trying not to be biased towards DC here, and my review later is going to go way more in depth with it. If you're interested, you can jump over to slavsfreetalk.com where I did my written review there, which kind of goes more in depth. If you're not, because I know a lot of people don't like to read reviews. I know some people like to just, hey, I want to watch a YouTube video. So I will have my YouTube video up where I talk spoilers and stuff like that about it later. You can head over there and read stuff. I don't want to talk too much about it here on a DC stream, but did I like it more than Superman? I did not, but Superman also isn't my favorite superhero movie of the year. Again, I liked it, but it's not my favorite of the year. So keep that in mind. Trayvon says, I'll wait for Disney Plus. Well, there you have it. Critic Chris says, I miss Michael Chiklis as the Thing. Oh, boy. Otito's here, says, hey, what's up? What's going on? All right. Donovan kind of messed with my first story a bit here. So let's move on to the first thing. All right. So, story number 1 that I want to talk about is Peacemaker. Season 2 is getting a trailer tomorrow. Now, it makes sense. You kind of had to figure that was going to happen. San Diego Comic-Con is going on right now, folks. What do you expect? And there's a big Peacemaker panel this weekend. So what do you expect? I know they're doing a lot of different Peacemaker things in San Diego this weekend. So this just makes so much sense. This just makes total sense, really, for this to happen. So there you have it. We're going to get a new trailer tomorrow. I'm going to be honest with you. I plan on doing a reaction to it. Hopefully sometime later tomorrow. I have a family reunion in the early day, so I'm probably not going to see it when it launches or when it releases. So later that night, tomorrow night, when I get home, I'll probably sit down and do a reaction to the trailer and get it out there for all of you. If you want to know my feelings on the trailer, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited to see the DCU expand. It's exciting. I'm excited for it. Who isn't? Like, who isn't excited for the DCU to expand, right? I mean, come on. It's awesome. It's a fun time. Like, this is also supposed to have... it's supposed to have a lot of connections to how we're moving forward in the DC universe. So that's, I think, what I'm looking forward to the most with Peacemaker. So, yeah, I'm all for that. Derpy Entertainment, how dare you? You're in the theater watching Fantastic Four and you're watching my show instead and commenting on it, saying that watching Fantastic Four so far is very predictable and mid. I tell you, man, that's all right, man. What's going on, Derpy? Got to get you back on the show. It's been a while. Let's see. You guys keep talking about Fantastic Four. Come on, guys. I mean, look, let's get through these. I only have 3 things to talk about, and then we can talk about whatever we want. If you guys want to talk about Fantastic Four after these 3 things, we can absolutely talk Fantastic Four. But yeah, Peacemaker. There was actually another. I should actually pull it up here. There was another. Yeah, here's another poster right here. I like how it says, "In what world is he the hero?" And insinuating that there is going to be some multiversal play in the season, which is exciting. I also like from the director of Superman at the top. That's kind of funny. Yeah, I like it. I'm excited. I'm ready for this show. I've been ready for a while. Let's get into it. I don't know, did you guys check out the podcast episode 1 of the Peacemaker podcast, which started yesterday? Was it yesterday or was it today? When did it start? Yesterday? I think it was yesterday it dropped. The 24th. Yeah, it was yesterday. 24th it dropped. So if you haven't, it's almost an hour long, I think. It was decent. It was it was interesting. They talk about different things about the episode of the first episode of season 1. And then James Gunn goes at the towards the end of the podcast, he talks about what is and isn't canon in that episode, for instance. So he'll say this that happened in this episode isn't canon to the new DCU. And that's kind of how it goes, which I think is kind of refreshing and kind of nice. But it's interesting because now we're going to know so many different things that are canon moving forward. And that's kind of exciting. I like that idea, that aspect, because it's really going to make things feel more tangible, more real, and make this universe come to life. And that's what I really like about it. Now, speaking of James Gunn, this wasn't the only thing that he shared today. There was a lot of people asking for him to share the mural that was on the wall at the Hall of Justice in Superman. Spoiler alert, sorry if you haven't seen Superman. In the Hall of Justice, yes, the Hall of Justice is in Superman. There's a mural that goes around the main hall in there. And people have been wanting him to share that mural. And this happens to be what it is. And it's got, 24 heroes on it? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, so more than 24 heroes on here. And at first it was kind of like, who is this? Who are all these people? At first, I sat here and I was trying to figure it out. Obviously everybody got Sandman right away. I got Zatara immediately. I was like, whoa, it's Zatara, which means could it be Zatanna that's coming in here? That's going to be awesome. That's exciting. And then I thought that this was, who did I say that was? Cavalier. I thought this was Cavalier, but no, it's Black Pirate. So then we got Black Pirate. Some people were trying to say that this was Wonder Woman at first over here. But, it was who is this? Who is that? Who aren't these people? And it was kind of back because some of these characters are real obscure. Some of these characters are just kind of man, who are they? And are they still alive? Are they going to show up at some point? And in a way, some people are kind of, and rightfully so. I'm going to say this is rightfully so because you should not be, James Gunn needs to stop or should not be focusing so much on these obscure characters. I do understand why he didn't put, the Batmans and the Supermans and the Flashes and stuff like that on this mural, because he wants to introduce them a certain way. But some of these characters are just so obscure, and it kind of frightens people. It frightens them to think here goes James Gunn again. He's going to just go with these obscure characters and things like that. So this is, kind of what people were talking about. You're either excited about this because of the world building aspects, or you're kind of annoyed because it's all these obscure characters. And it's more obscure. I'm a big comic reader. I'm a big fan of DC. But even to me, I'm sitting here who are some of these? And I think it's partially because of the way that the art is. It's hard to tell what some of them are. And some of them are easy. You could tell who Vibe is. You could tell who like I said, Zatara was, and things like that. But, when you sit there, it's kind of who are some of these people? And I do see some of you in the comments here saying, oh, this person's this person, this person's this person. I get that now. And a lot of people have been doing a lot of talking since he posted this at 1 p.m. today. But IGN tried to say who's who in the history of MetaHumans mural. And they went through and tried to I don't know if they're accurate, if they're not, but they're trying to say that Madame Xanadu's in here, Silent Knight, which I believe is definitely one, an Amazon warrior. Some people think it could be a Hippolyta, Black Pirate, which yes, that is Black Pirate. Then Super Chief, which I think that one was confirmed by James Gunn. That is Super Chief, who is played by Michael Rooker. Uncle Sam? Who's Uncle Sam? I don't see who Uncle Sam is here. Is that Uncle Sam? Like I don't see which one would be Uncle Sam. But then we got Commander Steel, which would be kind of cool to see Commander Steel. But where's Commander Steel? Or is that Commander Steel? Like, that's the thing. Like, some of these, I'm not even sure if they're even, like, there. Are they just guessing? Well, there's Sandman. Yeah, we know we had Sandman. Amazing Man is in there. Zatara. Liberty Bell. Bullet Man and Bullet Girl. Max Mercury, which is a speedster, which is kind of cool. Is that right there? Is that who Max Mercury is? No, that's Max Mercury right there. Let's see. Who else do they have in here? TNT and Dan the Dynamite. Right there. Those were easy ones there. Phantom Lady. I don't even know who Phantom Lady is. I've never heard of Phantom Lady. That's right there. Atomic Knight. Yes, in there. Freedom Beast. Freedom Beast right there. Wildcat. That was an easy one. Vibe. Saw that. Gunfire. Gunfire is right there. Maxwell Lord, speculation that's Maxwell Lord right there, but that makes sense because he's the one that's funding the play, so they made a photo of him. So that's kind of what they're saying is, this is IGN, that's what they're saying. I don't know if that's all accurate or not. Somebody asked if James Gunn could name everybody, and I didn't see, I went through here, and I did not see him name anything in the comments. So I don't know if he's eventually going to name them or not. It'll be interesting to see if he does. I don't know. My excitement is because of Zatara, that might mean, I should say, that we do get Zatanna at some point. Sandman being there is really cool. Just bringing him into the DC universe, that's really, really cool. Having Max Mercury there obviously means speedsters are on their way that are going to be there. I mean, you kind of figured that was going to happen at some point. But some of these other characters, it's kind of like, what do they lead to? Or could they lead to anything? That to me is kind of like, well, could it mean something? Could it? I don't know. I don't know if it could mean anything that we see any of them at all. So that to me is just really interesting. I'm excited about it. I think it's cool, but I don't know what it all means. If you understand what I'm saying there, I don't know. It's cool. I think it's just a really cool mural to set just a history of the DCU in place, which I think is pretty cool. What are you guys saying over here? Let's see. Let's see. Donovan says, I don't think Gunn is going too much, but to have a mural showing the history of the metahuman, it adds just a believability to this world that it's lived in. Excuse me. Absolutely. No, I agree. I do agree. Trayvon says Superman 2025 greater than all previous Superman movies. It's a bold statement, Trayvon. Bold statement. Donovan says speedsters exist in the DCU. Let's freaking go. All right, man. Let's go. Donovan says, I need Zatanna so bad. Everybody's been wanting something from Zatanna in live action for so long. But, I mean, just like I wanted in the MCU that I've been talking about for so long, I want that supernatural aspect in one of these comic worlds. and we're not getting it like I want in the MCU, but I also think that DC's supernatural aspects are so much better than Marvel's. So I absolutely want DC's supernatural world explored, and I want it explored fast. I mean, I want the Constantines, the Zatannas, the Etragons, the Swamp Things, everything like that. The Justice League dark side, the dark side of things. Like, that's what I want. I want that, like, sooner than later. That's what I want, because it is so much fun. It is a lot more interesting. You know, you get that the Ravens, you get the Trigons, you get the Shazams, things like that are just so more supernatural magic, the Dr. Fates. It's so much more interesting than that of what Marvel does with their supernatural side. And I think if James Gunn is smart, I'm not saying like within the next 5 years, but before that 10 years is up, he starts planting the seeds and gets that going, because I think it is a very important part of DC, and I hope they do go for it. Let's see. Amari says, I'd love 2 JSA movies, one that takes place in World War II and a JSA in modern time. That would be really, really cool to see. I could see them doing that down the line. That's something I think I honestly think that I could see them doing that maybe, 6-7 years down the line when they have everything fully established, and maybe they want to introduce like a Jay Garrick into the mix or something like that, or even a Zatara or something like a character like that, but they want to show how and who they were before, and kind of like what they did with Wonder Woman in the DCEU, or the DCEU, where they show her in World War I, and then we see her in the modern day. I could see them doing something like that, which I think would be cool. Randola says, do you think that there's a chance for us to get an Etrigan movie on the DCU? I wouldn't say like an Etrigan movie, but I could definitely see him being placed in the universe in some way, whether it's in a Justice League Dark movie or a Constantine movie, or something like that, like in a movie that is within the supernatural realm of things. I don't think like Etrigan himself would not be a pull. Like that's not something that you would put Etrigan as the title and people be like, we got to go see that movie. Like, but Justice League Dark, that would be a pull probably at some point. And if you have him in the film, sure, like that makes sense. Him, Deadman, and Constantine, like having Swamp Thing and then maybe Batman in there just to have that little extra boost. Doing something like that and having him in it, I think could work. Again, having his own film, no. But him being a part of a team, or, maybe even at first being a foe and then them finding out, oh, he's not really the foe, like a foe or something, doing something in that way. I just don't see them doing a film, because he's not that kind of commodity. He's not a household name, I should say. Donovan says, by the way, the person on the mural that looks like Dr. Fate, it's not. It's Maxwell Lord being part of the metahuman history, because it implies he began the corporatization and industrialization of the metahumans. Yeah, that's right over here. Right here. At the completely right side of it. Meanwhile, back on the podcast. Yo, what's going on? Let's see if I can figure this out. Perhaps. I might be able to do this. Let's see. So, I think somebody wants to join. Let me see if I can get him. right. So I just did that. Apologies. Let's see if he's able to get on. This is new for me, so I apologize. It might take a few minutes for me to get it up and running, but I will do my best to get it up and running. Let's see. What else are you guys saying here? Yes, meanwhile, back on the podcast, I just sent you a link. Hopefully you get it and you're able to jump on. Let's move this over here so I can see what's going on. Randola says they are making a Clayface movie, so I think everything is possible. Yeah, but Clayface, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say Clayface is, like, well-known, but Clayface is definitely more well-known than someone like Etrigan, for sure. So we got that. You know, we definitely have that going. Let's see here. If I do this, and let's see, how do I do this? Let's see if I do that. Hello? Can you hear me? Can I hear you? I don't know. Let me see. Sorry, this is a brand new system. I'm trying to figure it out. Interview guest. Your volume's up. You're not muted on my side. So I don't know.
Can you hear me now?
Now I hear you. There we go.
Okay.
There we go.
Am I on or
You were on. Yeah, you were on now. What's going on, man?
Not much, dude. How's it going? Nice to meet you finally.
Yeah, nice to meet you, man. Nice to meet you.
Cool.
Yeah, so everyone who's watching right now, so I should probably, I apologize, like, real quick, I do apologize because, like I said, this is a new setup for me, so I don't have anything set up yet for this stuff, so I'm just going to kind of move things around and get this up. Okay, so Frank, not Frankie. Frank is your name, right?
Yep.
Okay, is that what you like to go by?
You can call me Frankie. I don't care, dude. It's all good.
So Frank and I have been going back and forth a little bit on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and we've been discussing different things in regards to DC, whether it's Superman or the Snyderverse and things like that. I know that you wanted to talk to me about Superman. You wanted to have a discussion about Superman because your take is, you say it's vastly different than my take when it comes to it. Now, you did also want to discuss the Snyderverse stuff, but I kind of reminded you, or not reminded you, but let you know, like, first off, like, I am a big fan of DC, or Zack Snyder's DC work. Like, I am. I loved his work. I thought what he did was really, really strong and phenomenal. I enjoyed it a lot. But when all is said and done, you know, it's over. Like, it's done. It's not coming back. And for me, it's the people that I've been saying, like, I used to have an old podcast called Bridging the Geekdoms. So I ended that 2 or 3 Januaries ago. I ended that show. And then I started this one shortly thereafter. But when I was on that show, I used to say all the time, look, it's over. It's not coming back. But here's the thing. There's two different kind of Snyder fans. You have the Snyder fans, and then you have the Snyder cult or the bros or whatever you want to call them. There's two different kinds. And I cannot stand the one side. Like, Snyder fans, I'm cool with any Snyder fan. Any Snyder fan wants to come and talk to me and say, hey, I like Snyder movies. That's cool. We can talk all day about Snyder movies, whether it's DC, whether it's, hell, I'll talk Rebel Moon, even though those movies were complete trash. I'll talk about them. But I know that they'll be fair in talking about other films as well.
Yep.
Then you have the cult who act like there's no other type of DC movie ever possible.
Yeah,
you know,
they've lost the plot, dude. They've lost the plot.
So that's why, like, a lot of times my posts, some of the things that I write on my website, some of the things I talk about, some of the videos I make, it may come off like I'm not a fan of Zack Snyder, but it's basically, I mean, first off, you know, things, you do things to get clicks on YouTube, you know, and things like that. So it's kind of like, hey, I make things, I put it out there. Things are, in my opinion, look, this is the honest truth. This is the truth of how it is. And I believe everything I say. I believe everything I write. It's just, hey, I'm putting this out there because I think they need to hear it. And whether they want to hear it and get mad at me or not, it is what it is. So.
Okay. Well, listen, I can appreciate you accepting the fact that there's a certain amount of hyperbole in you marketing your content. I think that's very honorable, very honorable. I think there's a lot of people that would deflect from that. So I appreciate you acknowledging that. I want to get fandom away from the hyperbole. Honestly, I think that the hyperbole is directly related to the lack of media literacy and the declining of media literacy across fandom. I think that they're all interconnected. I think that we've all turned into these LLMs, the way that we talk to each other. Like, we don't even have freaking personalities. We don't have distinguishing differences. Like, honestly, 80% of the people that I talk to on X, I feel like only have the opinions that they have because the social group that they exist in have those same opinions, right?
Yeah.
Now, Slav, I don't know how old you are. I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I'm ahead in my years. But for me growing up, my friends weren't people that I knew online. I don't have any online friends at all, right? But I acknowledge the fact that there's a lot of kids out there that have just these social groups that are made up of online friends, right? Mm-hmm. And the reality that we got to deal with this particular dynamic is that saying the wrong thing within a group of online friends is very different than saying something controversial within a group of real life friends. Like, they're not just going to shut you down and walk away from that friendship because of what you said. There's just too much to lose there. With online friends, there's almost like this invisible box that you have to kind of stay in to maintain your online friendships. There's not a lot of tolerance out there, right? So my point is that, like I said, we got to move away from the hyperbole. We got to start bringing media literacy up, and we got to start calling out the commentators that are only dependent on hyperbole, nerdrotic, drinker to a certain extent. Like, these guys, they're not helping anybody. They're just banking off of ignorance and engagement. That's it.
Yeah. And I'll be completely honest. And I said this I did an interview with Movie Talk Now a month or two ago. And,
Mm-hmm.
He was asking me like how I got to where I am and stuff. And there was a point in time, I was still under Bridging the Geekdoms. I was trying to build that brand. And
right.
I was trying to almost mimic kind of what like those Geeks and Gamers and Critical Drinker and Nerdrotic were doing, because you see, being a YouTuber, being somebody who's in that content creation, you're like, what are the ones that are successful doing? And you're kind of like, I want to do that same thing. And that's what happens. People get into that rut where they see the success, whether they agree with what they're saying, what they're doing or not, they see that success and they're like, I want that. So then they fall into that same rut. And I started doing that with this channel here. When I started this channel, I started doing that and I saw no success at all doing that. I saw none. Now, don't get me wrong. When I blew up in a way that I didn't think I was going to blow up. And I'm sure you know who Aaron Fisher is and everything like that. And it was because of, I make videos occasionally where I say it's so-and-so is wrong about this. And it started with Aaron Fisher is wrong about Superman. And I just basically said, hey, I know people were, they watch him and he's wrong about what he's saying about this. And that's all it was. Like, I wasn't calling him out or anything. It was just saying what he's saying is misinformation. It's not true. This is what it is. But those videos, I made one, and then he responded, and then I made another one in response. Those videos blew up because people were like, holy crap, there's people that don't think like him on the internet who think more positively about stuff. And then to me, I was like, wow, I don't need to be like Nerdrotic. I don't need to be like, Critical Drinker.
No.
I can do something else.
Yeah.
But even then, when you step back and you take a look, it's kind of like, well, what I did for that video was kind of, while it's not what they did, was it really right to do that? Like, should I have called out another YouTuber? Should I called out another content creator in that way? And it's like a fine line. And
Yeah.
I sit there and say, like, look, I'm not sitting, like, if I ever sit there and say so-and-so is wrong about something, or what they're saying is wrong, it's all about facts. It's not about their opinion. It's not about who they are as a person. I never will call somebody out about those things. It'll always be about the information they're talking about. That way, it's on that right side of the line. It's not that wrong side where it's just like, oh, you're just calling him out because you don't like the person. No, it's the information they're giving. It's wrong information. And that's how I've always been able to toe that line. It's if you cross that line, I think, is whenever it gets bad. And the reason why I bring that up is because with the Snyder Bros specifically, that's where I come from with it, is because it all started with scoopers. It all started with these people online who wanted to say, oh, the Snyderverse is coming back, the Snyderverse is coming back, the Snyderverse is coming back, the Snyderverse is coming back. Look, I was caught up in that. I believed it. I thought it was coming. I was friends with the guys at the Culture Nerd. I was in Slack with them. Like, I was literally in their Slack chats with them, hearing all this stuff that they were saying behind the scenes about different things that were coming and how things were going to progress. And I was excited, but they were always like, don't say anything on your YouTube channel. Don't say anything on your YouTube channel. And it was like, why not? Like, you're saying these things. Like, this is exciting. This is awesome. Why can't I say anything? And then they would go on Lightcast and talk about it, or go on their own show and talk about it. And it was like, okay, I kind of starting to see what's going on. But then none of it ever came to fruition. And then I'm kind of like, okay, it's not real. None of this is real. What they're saying, what Mikey Sutton's saying, what Sil Abdul's saying, what this person's saying, none of this is real. They're just doing it to get clicks. But all of these people believed it. So many of these people believed it, and they bought in, and even to this day, they still believe it. And it's that information. I think just stuck on it.
Yeah. Sorry to cut you off here, Slav. I think you got to try and parse all information as much as you possibly can. You got to try and weed the high probability stuff from the low probability stuff. That's kind of how I approach everything. I don't know if I shared much of my background with you, but I'm currently a podcast producer myself. Mm-hmm. I produce other podcasts for people. I work with YouTubers, etc. I have my own content development and management company. I'm also dabbling in feature films, etc. But before that, I was a marketer, marketing consultant for 20 years. So communication is just kind of my thing. It's kind of my wheelhouse. And like I said, you got to parse the information based on high probability and low probability. And I heard a lot of the same things that Sil and those guys were talking about. And there were reasons to get excited about that stuff, but there was also reasons not to get too overexcited about it and put it out into the public and get people's hopes up. And I draw the line where you draw the line, dude. Like, once they get into sending out manifestos and directives on how they have to treat other people, and anything that crosses the line of, hey, we like these movies, I'm like, peace, dude. I'm out. Like, this is too much for me. Like, this is about movies and about fandom. I want to get back to the days where we just used to stand around the comic book store and have good-natured civil conversations. If there was a disagreement, that's all it was. It wasn't some name-calling type of crap. Like, it was just like, listen, here's where I stand. Here's where you stand. Agree to disagree. Walk away. Those were the good days. And I want to get back there, But we're in this constant pressure cooker of social media, and it's just human nature to not want to be wrong. Like that's just how we're wired. Like it's a survival instinct that goes all the way back to hunter and gatherer days, because when you screwed up in the tribe, you had to stand up in front of the tribe and you had to make your case. And if you were wrong and they found you wrong, they kicked you out. And if you got kicked out of the tribe, your probability of surviving was a lot less, right? So it's just hardwired into our brains. We don't want to be wrong. So you got to find a way to kill that ego, get comfortable with being wrong, and things get a lot better. Like I don't know if you've seen on our account, but whenever I'm wrong, I post a public like, "Hey, I was wrong about this. Sorry, I didn't mean to offend anybody, but I was wrong. I accept that. Move on, dude. It's not a big deal. Like it's not like your leg falls off or something. Like, you know what I mean? Like we treat it like it's this crazy critical thing that's going to do some harm or some damage to us, and that's just not how it works. I think human beings overall are forgiving, and especially if you mea culpa with them, they're like, it's fine, dude. Don't worry. At least you were humble enough to say you were wrong. And if we could all get to that place where we could just talk to each other with that kind of humanity and stop dehumanizing each other, like it would be so much better. And I I know you talk a lot about DC, so this is definitely the place to have this conversation. But if we don't bring the fandoms together, we are effed. We're effed because there's no concentration of commercial interest in any one property, and that's what the studio wants. That's what Zaslav wants. That's what anybody who's ever going to put any money into any of these projects wants. They want everybody going in the same direction. And we got to accept that, and we got to move on, or else we're just going to end up like all the other defunct freaking fandoms, and it's not going to be great. And I'm a Marvel fan too. I'm a Marvel fan. I'm a DC fan. I used to be more of a Star Wars fan, but I'm still a Star Wars fan.
I understand that.
We just got to get back to talking to each other without trying to win some sort of narrative objective. Just like share your ideas, respect the fact that some people have a different perspective, and move on. It's that simple.
Yeah, I do agree. Like that was originally a while ago was like, we need to come together. Everybody needs to come together, and you kind of lose your way at some point, and I get that. I definitely do. I would love to see everybody get together, and that was kind of one of the things. It's kind of like with this new Superman movie. It was like it's DC. Everyone sits there and says they're fans of DC. They're fans of DC. I'm a fan of DC. I'm a fan of DC. Then why do you want this movie to fail? Like, regardless if you like James Gunn or not, why do you want to see this movie fail? Like,
I agree.
You may not like James Gunn. You may not like his directing style. But one, he's not directing everything. Two, the DC universe is going to be huge. They've talked about how things are going to be different in tone, different in style through this whole universe. So you may not like the Superman movie. You may love Supergirl. You may love Lanterns. You may love Batman. Like, you may love these other films. But we won't get to that if you want a movie to fail. To me, that just doesn't make sense. Like, why would you sit there and hope something fails? Like, going into Fantastic Four this weekend, I didn't like the marketing push for it. Sure, like towards the end with those TV spots, I enjoyed those, but most of the marketing I didn't enjoy. But I never sat there and said, I hope this movie fails. Especially, even though I wanted Superman to like have a huge win with all this, I still didn't sit there and say, I want Fantastic Four to fail. I wanted to succeed. I went into the movie. I paid for it. But why? Like, I don't get it.
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. It's totally counterintuitive. It's against your own interests.
Yeah.
But I think the conversation that isn't being had though, and I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'll speak for, I'll sort of offer some conjecture on behalf of the other side. But I think that there was a lot of people who have specific business interests in the other side of the fandom. And I think that they were concerned that if Superman did too well, that there was going to be a victory lap, a big victory lap, and you guys they already kind of proved that, where you guys were going to dance on Snyder's grave, basically. And I think that there's already been a lot of that.
And the thing with that is, I mean, for me, from my standpoint, I was never one of the ones, and I know it's not me that necessarily you're talking about, it's others, but like for me, I'm one of the ones that for months and months and months said, look, Superman doesn't need to be better than Man of Steel for me, because Man of Steel to me is the greatest superhero movie that ever come out. So
it's fucking awesome.
It's a high bar to overcome. But that doesn't mean that Superman can't be a great movie. It doesn't mean that I can't love Superman and love that movie when it comes out.
Yep.
So for me, it's kind of like, hey, if this Superman movie does well and it does well at the box office, and hell, if it surpasses Superman's box office, that's awesome. That doesn't yuck on my yum. It doesn't mean that I don't like Man of Steel any less. I still have Man of Steel to love. And then everybody's sitting there saying, oh, Superman can't beat the box office of Man of Steel. First off, why does that matter? It doesn't matter in 2025 if it beats the box office of something from 2013. It never did. It never mattered. And that, like, to me, I sit there and say, if this movie would have made $800 million, I personally would have never have sat there and said, haha, it beat Man of Steel.
Right.
Because
you wouldn't have done that. You wouldn't have done that.
Others would have. I get that.
Yeah.
But I would have sat there and said, why does it matter? Because in 2013, Man of Steel was like, that was great for what Man of Steel made in 2013. If Superman made $800 million in 2025, that would have been phenomenal. That would be phenomenal. Absolutely. But like, you have to look at the times when these movies are coming out and understand the intricacies of where the market is, what's going on with the genre, what's going on with movie theaters and Hollywood and the industry and everything. And people just don't want to do that. And to me, it's just like, guys, just sit back, relax, let the movie run its course. It'll make what it's going to make. It's fun to talk about. Don't get me wrong. Like, and you have to talk about it, because if you don't, you're going to be left in the dust and all your viewers are going to go somewhere else. So you have to talk about it. But, it's going to make what it makes. It's fun to discuss. But in the grand scheme of things, like, it doesn't matter what it does in comparison to a movie that came out 12 years ago. It doesn't, because
I agree, but you're like, not everybody's like you. Like, I can tell already you have a very nuanced perspective on everything, and you're able to parse what you like and what you like about certain things from what you don't like about certain things. And some people just aren't like that, right? We have a large cohort on CBM, Twitter, whatever the hell you want to call it, where their entire personality is how they feel about one particular movie at any given time. And that's what they do, right? That's their whole stick. That's what they do. And we got to look at the information pool as a collective, and and we have to look at it as like, everybody's contributing to it, right?
Yeah.
And if they're creating social proof that this is the way to talk about something, then more people are going to talk about it like that, especially young people. Like, they're definitely going to just echo what they hear. And like, look at the monkey meme from Superman.
Yeah.
Like, that thing, dude, that has to have 15 million impressions by now. And the movie just like came out a couple weeks ago. Like, that's crazy to me, dude. That's insane. And we got to get to a place, like, we got to get to an alternate version of where we are right now. Because if we were in a place where everybody could just accept the different versions of DC as they are for what they are and celebrate them in the way that other fans are celebrate them, and just saying, hey, you guys, it's great. It's, we're really happy that you have the movies that you love. If everybody could just celebrate it that way, nobody would be even having this debate about whether we should be talking about the box office comparisons. Like, nobody would even be thinking about it. And we're just not there yet. there's this combative nature that exists online with everything. It's political, it's comic books, it's sports, it's everything. And for some reason, for some effed up reason, we argue about comic book stuff like people argue about politics, and it's insane.
It is.
It's
yeah.
insane. You could take out Snyder and you could take out Gunn and you could swap in Biden and you could swap in Trump, and the conversation would still sound exactly the same. It would be like fucking Mad Libs, dude. Like, I'm not kidding.
No,
I'm
I mean, you're
kidding.
not wrong.
It would be
you're
just,
not.
yeah, it would just be like Mad Libs. So,
Yeah.
you know, we got to get to a place, and and honestly, I'm not that hopeful about it, because I just think humans are going to human and the internet is going to internet.
They always do.
And there's also a lot of outside influence too. Like, there are bots, there are click farms, there are all kinds of crap, right?
Yeah.
And until we can get around that, and we can find a way to navigate around that and make people better understand about how these narratives are being engineered. Like, I'm planning on doing a couple of videos where I break down Drinker, I break down Nerdrotic, I break down all these guys, and I tell you what they're saying in between the stuff that what they're trying to say in between the stuff that they're saying that you're not hearing, because they're hypocrites, right? They don't want to be pigeonholed as right wing, and they don't want to be pigeonholed as extremists, and they don't want to be pigeonholed as misogynists or whatever, but they're okay pigeonholing everybody else. They're hypocrites, right? Like, if you can't apply the same standard to yourself that you try to apply to others, you're a hypocrite. That's the definition of a hypocrite.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a certain level of hypocrisy to their content that people just don't understand is there, because it's below the surface, and because they're really good. Like, you got to give it to them. They're really good at marketing. They're really good at drumming up and ginning up, reactionary stuff. So you got to go between the lines, and you got to paint a clear picture as to what these guys are really doing. And somebody's got to start doing that. But then you start getting copyright strikes apparently now. I hear that. You know what? That's funny. I've been seeing that a lot. Apparently you can't dissect other YouTubers' videos now on YouTube because they'll copyright strike you. That's ridiculous.
I didn't know that. That's interesting.
That's ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I hope that stops, because that would be insane. I'd love to know from you what you really liked about Superman, man, because I'm still trying to make sense of this movie. I just ended our spoiler hot review. If anybody wants to go watch it, they can. But the last thing I said to my co-host was, I don't know what this movie is. I don't.
So for me, like, when I first watched the movie, so I watched the movie twice. I've seen it twice. And let me turn that off. There we go. So I watched the movie twice. And the first time I watched it, I walked out of the movie theater and I was disappointed. I was like, there were moments in it that specifically one moment, I just kind of was like, this is a little boring. And it was kind of all over the place. The pacing wasn't great. And, I just, the first time I watched it, I just wasn't really invested in the movie.
Right.
I sat back, thought about it, and I was like, the one thing that stood out to me in the movie was David Cornsweet. Like, that was the one thing that stood out to me. For me, he stood out so much that he actually has surpassed Henry Cavill in my eyes for Superman. Like,
okay,
Man of Steel still, I think, is a better movie, hands down.
Right.
Better movie, way better film. But David Cornsweet as Superman, I think, encapsulates Superman way better than Henry Cavill did. That's not a knock on Henry Cavill, because I think he's fantastic in the role when he's in the role.
Mm-hmm.
But that was like the big thing that stood out to me, was just how great Cornsweet was. When I went to see the movie again a second time, which I was excited to go see it again, but I kind of was like, I know what to expect, so I'm just going to sit down and I'm just going to enjoy it. I had a blast. the second time I watched it. Like, when I say a blast, like, I had so much fun watching it from start to finish. Like, I never felt bored, even though I felt bored the first time. I didn't feel bored this time. And it was, I don't know if it was because I allowed myself just to, hey, I'm in this. Like, let's go.
Turned your brain off?
Maybe that's what it
Yeah.
was. And because of that, like, I think I allowed myself to, like, Lex. Like, I liked Nicholas Holt's portrayal of Lex the first time I watched it, but the second time I was like, man, he's chewing up every scene. He's loving it. I'm loving how he's going about it. This is a lot of fun. You know, Rachel Brosnahan, she brings a lot to Lois, even though I think that she was a little shortchanged. I wish she kind of did a little bit more. You know, like the Daily Planet crew, especially at the end, it's kind of like, why'd they get on the ship? What the hell did they do? Like, they did
Absolutely. Absolutely.
like, and then at the end, like,
Absolutely.
the end, they show Cat Grant jumping up and down. I wonder why he had that shot in there. Like, you know, like, there's little things like that. It's kind of like, there's flaws in the movie. I admit completely there are flaws in the movie, but it's just a lot of fun. And that's kind of what I took from it. Like, that's what I sit there and I watch it. I'm like, this is just a fun movie from start to finish. It's fun. It's not deep. It's not deep by any stretch of the imagination. And I don't think he wanted to make it deep. I think that's kind of why they made it the way they did. Is it was kind of like, look, let's just make a fun Superman movie. Let's make a movie that's fun, that kids will enjoy, like my 5-year-old did, like my 11-year-old did. They enjoyed the movie. They had fun. The only thing my 11-year-old complained about it with the movie was the song at the end. She did not like that song. And I don't know, maybe she doesn't like it because I keep playing it in my car, but she doesn't she doesn't like the song at the end. But
Dad, not again.
Basically.
That's funny.
But
that's funny.
You know, when you sit there and I realize, like, you know, my fiance, she enjoyed it. She really liked it. And she goes, hey, who's the guy that's playing Superman? Has he been in anything else? I was like, he's been in a few things here and there, but he's not really famous. She goes, that's shocking. Like, he should be more famous. Like, he's really good. Like, somebody like her, who she's not a nerd like me. Like, her and I are very opposite. Like, we are completely opposites. And for her to sit there and be like, pointing out how good he was in the movie, to me was like, wow, okay, I'm not wrong. Like, I'm not sitting here just seeing that. Like, she sees it as well. So to me, like, I sit there, it's a fun movie. And I get it. You sit there, you're calling out different things that are like, this doesn't make any sense. How can Lex Luthor just shoot somebody at this moment, but then over here, when Superman uses his laser eyes on people, they just fall down 300 feet and then just stand up again? Because it's just dumb fun. It's dumb fun.
Are you quoting my tweets back at me? Are you quoting my tweets back at me?
Basically.
I think you are.
But
think
it's,
you are. Okay.
Again, it's just dumb comic book fun. That's all it is.
Sure.
And I was able to just allow myself to get into it. And it's not for everybody. It isn't. It's not for the... and I'm not calling you this, but it's not for the Snyder Bros. It's not for the Snyder Bros. I'm not calling you this. Because the Snyder Bros want that earnest. They want that realism. They want that. And, you know, that's those kind of fans. I'm not just saying the Snyder Bros, but those types of fans that want that, like, the realism, the earnestness, the gloominess of what DC has brought in the past. That's what they're looking for. That's not where they're going with this universe now. And you can absolutely plainly see that from Superman. And it's not to say that we're not going to have some darker toned films and some meaningful messages in movies and things like that. It's just that we need to establish that this world is going to be a little comic-y from time to time. And that's okay. And I appreciate the movie for doing that, because when you sit back and you take a look, you come out of that movie, it's like, damn, that's a fun time. Like, I can't remember the last time I came out of a comic book movie and thought, that was fun. That's fun. You know, and I wish I had that the first time I watched it. And I blame it a little bit on the crowd. I do. I'm somebody, I've said this a lot of times on my show. I'm somebody that really relies on the crowd in a movie. Not because I want to sit there and, I got to feed off the crowd. No, I love gauging the reaction of a crowd. And what I mean by that is, I've always, for years, I will go to the premieres of like the midnight or, premieres of movies, whatever you want to call them. And I'll go watch a movie. Let's take Star Wars, for instance. The Force Awakens. I went opening night, Thursday night, saw the movie. Friday the next day, I took my family. And family was all sitting there, and I kind of just sat to the side. And when all the big scenes happened, I just kind of sat there and watched them. And I had more excitement and joy watching their reaction to what was going on screen than I had the night before. And the audience, the first night when I went and saw Superman, none of them laughed. None of them clapped. None of them had any kind of excitement in that theater. The second night I went, which was a Tuesday night, theater was packed. They were all laughing. They clapped at the end. They were all having a blast. And it was kind of like, maybe that's what it was for me. Maybe it was just kind of like, I know the moments that are coming up and they're supposed to be funny. And then boom, everybody laughs. I'm like, this is hitting. This is hitting. All right. I'm getting into it now. And maybe that's what it is. I don't know. I don't really know. But all I know now is like, I sit there and I think about the movie and I'm thinking about certain parts. I'm like, yeah, that was a fun part. There's a couple other kids that haven't seen it yet because they were with their dad. And I'm like, all right, I guess they want to go see it. So now I got to take them. And I'm like, hey, I get to go see it again. So that's kind of how it is for me.
Okay. Well, that was very earnest. I can tell that you really enjoyed it. And that's awesome. The thing that I love most about the discourse around this movie is that the people that love it really love it. Like, it's kind of overwhelming to a degree. But the people that didn't like it, it's either falls on like extremes. I haven't really met a lot of people that were like, it was okay, I enjoyed it, right? But it's either like you love it or you don't. It's definitely one of those films. Mm-hmm. Okay, so for me, and I'm going to preface this with saying that I'm a fairly analytical person. I have Asperger's, and I'm very meticulous in how I parse things. So I don't necessarily like one moment isn't going to kill something for me. I know a lot of people are like that. We're like, oh, one bad scene, this is going to suck, right? I'm not like that. I can literally just parse what I need to parse. And at the end, I sum everything up and I'm like, okay, that was great. Or it missed for this reason. The other thing that I have to contend with is the fact that I'm a screenwriter myself. So I know the science behind writing a screenplay. Like, I know filmmaking, like I know all these things. And when you have these frames of reference, it makes it a much more challenging thing just to sit back and enjoy movies because you're there for the craft as well, right? Mm-hmm. Sometimes I have to go see a movie at least 3 times to get everything I want out of it. The first time I went to see Last Jedi, my first sitting, I was pissed. I was angry because that throwing away the lightsaber, that drove me crazy.
Yeah.
But I went back the second time and I started to read between the lines of what Rian Johnson was trying to say to J.J. Abrams. And I laughed my ass off because it was hilarious. And it's the kind of comedy that I enjoy, which is like satirical and just kind of like middle finger, South Park style, just like kind of F you, dude. And I loved it. And the rest of the movie was just smooth sailing from there. And I enjoyed every minute of it. So where I come at Superman is like this. I don't know what James Gunn was trying to do. I don't know whether what he did was an accident or if it was on purpose. But I see this film as a deconstructive satire of comic book culture in its entirety. And I'll tell you why. Because it was that scene with the Russian roulette scene executing the falafel guy. Now, I don't know if anybody else clocked this, but that's the guy from the trailer that everybody started memeing right out of the trailer. They were like, "Oh, he's helping Superman. This is great. Like, this is a great message." He's the guy that got memed to death. And I was like, did James Gunn do this on purpose? Did he kill that guy in front of us as some sort of like dark satirical thing? And if that's the case, James Gunn is a fucking genius. Okay. I'm sorry if sorry, I don't know if I can swear on your show, so I apologize. I'll try and curb that. Okay, cool. So if he did it on purpose, he's a satirical genius, because if this was a satire, it's great. It's great. And I have to rewatch it as a satire and go through it. But what it does is it doesn't take itself seriously enough for it to have real stakes. And that's what makes it a satire to me. Like, for instance, did you know that the only death from Metropolis in the entire movie is the falafel guy? Even though the city is falling apart the entire movie, Superman manages to save every civilian that's in trouble. That's not realistic. That's what happens in a very campy, like, cartoony satire. That's what happens in that environment. That's not what happens in a movie that takes itself seriously, especially not the consequences of life and death. So I think that it's either a satire or it's just overpacked and overstuffed, because I just didn't know what to make of this movie. It didn't resonate with me the way that it needed to. And to sort of dumb this down to the best way I possibly can, just to sort of simplify this, it wasn't a Superman movie presented by James Gunn. It was a James Gunn film featuring Superman. That's how I felt about it. Like, everything that James Gunn is, his style, his tone, his hallmarks, his cliches, his wheelhouse dominates that film, dominates it. And I feel like possibly there wasn't enough room left for Superman as far as the depth of him. What I saw from Superman was very much this sort of superhero Superman cliche stuff. The squirrel, the rescue feats, etc. Like, it's very cliche. Did we get into the depth of him, his stoicism, his quiet intensity? We didn't really get there. We really didn't get there at all. So I didn't really feel like it connected with me on that level as a Superman film. But there are a lot of positives in this movie. I really enjoyed a lot of the performances. I really thought the Justice Gang was excellent. Guy Gardner got nailed. That was a Hawkeye bullseye, dude. That was crazy. Not only did Fillion nail the performance, but Gunn nailed his voice in that script, perfectly. It couldn't have been better. But I think he was trying to say something about comic book culture on the whole. I think what he's been doing is sort of getting a sense of what everybody's been saying about what a Superman movie should be. And what he did was compress all of it into one movie, no matter what the stakes were, no matter whether it made sense, no matter whether it did. He just wanted to kind of give everybody everything. And I think that's what we got, because nobody died except for the falafel guy. And to me, that, and pun intended, but that's the smoking gun. That's the smoking gun that tells me that this was most likely a satire. The other thing too is I see Ultraman as the past Superman movies. I don't know if you guys see it that way, but that's the way I saw it. I see it as the past Superman movies that he had to overcome for his Superman movie to get the notoriety that he wanted. And honestly, I have this suspicion, this is total conjecture, but I think he might have asked Henry Cavill to play that part, and Henry might have read between the lines and was like, nah, man, I can't do that. I can't do that to Zach. Sorry. But again, conjecture. I'm totally speculating. Yeah. But yeah, that's kind of how I saw that.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Well, first off, I mean, when you sit there and talk about Superman being, like basically the trope of what a superhero is, I mean, that is Superman. I mean, Superman was the first superhero. I mean, he's the first superhero. He's the one that everything is built off of. So, if you're going to make a Superman movie that is going to be as comic booky as possible and showcase Superman at his most Supermaniest, I can make that a word. He's going to be. You're going to show a lot of those weird tropes, saving a squirrel and things like that. I didn't pick up on, after the 2 viewings, that the falafel guy was the only person that died.
It's crazy.
I didn't pick up on that, and I mean, I'm guessing you're right. I don't. Do they say at any point in time that no deaths happened in Metropolis? Do we know that for a fact?
Well, the fact. Okay, so the other thing that kind of raised a flag for me was the evacuation. It happened within a period of like 5 minutes. They had the entire city mobilized. That was kind of absurd to me. And the fact that none of the Raptors died after getting blasted with heat vision indiscriminately, that was kind of weird too. I'm just saying that the application of the life and death stakes only really ring true when the creative team wanted them to. There wasn't any internal logic to the life and death stakes of this movie. And I may be wrong, but that would make it a satire, or that would make it sort of an absurd comedy. Like,
don't forget
right? The president of Bolivia, great point, because I think that was James' commentary on how he feels about the whole situation in the Middle East. I think that was a fantasy fulfillment for him. That's my take, but agree, disagree, I don't know. But that's how I felt about it.
I mean, so you're basically just saying those on screen, those that we saw on screen didn't die except for the falafel guy. That's all you're saying. Because with everything that happened in Metropolis, hundreds could have died, but we just didn't see them die.
Yeah, they could have, but there's also no commentary about anybody dying. I think somebody says something about a number of people getting injured. I think it was like when they were writing the news story or reading the news story about it.
After he fights the Hammer of Baravia, they talk about how many.
That's
people
true.
were
Yeah,
injured.
sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. I'm getting it confused. But I think the fact that bus comes in, again, I think this is James Gunn kind of poking fun at the arguments against Man of Steel and other Superman properties.
100%.
Where people were like, yeah, exactly, right? They're like, okay, you want me to save everybody? This is what it looks like. This is how dumb it's going to look with 0 casualties. We're going to save all the civilians, and you guys can shut the hell up because I did it. So you can't say this about my movie, right? That's how I see it. That's how I see it.
I don't think it was that he's saving everybody. I think it was just like, hey, look, we're showing that we're making an attempt to save everybody, whereas the other films didn't. That's kind of what I looked at it as. But I mean, you go down the list of superhero films. I mean, whether it's MCU, whether it's DCEU, what have you. They don't showcase a lot of people dying in those movies. They really don't, unless
that's true.
Unless it's very close to what's going to progress the story forward and to the hero. So I mean, when you sit there and think about it, it's kind of like, yeah, you're right. Like, there weren't a lot of deaths in this movie, and the falafel guy dying was a major part of
it was overt.
It was showcasing the evilness of Lex and how it affects Superman to see somebody die that he literally cannot save. Like, there's nothing he could possibly do at that moment. And I mean, that was important to showcase that for the movie. But I mean, I guess I don't buy the satire side of it. I think that that's how they wanted to make it. I think they wanted to showcase Lex just being this ruthless killer because of his hatred for Superman. That's who he's become because of
but I'm not saying it's an accidental satire. I'm saying James Gunn intended to really kind of tongue in cheek poke a lot of fun at all the things that we've been discussing as far as Superman movies go and what we want in a Superman movie, right? I don't think it was accidental that the falafel guy got killed after he got featured in the trailer. I think that was engineered, which supports my theory. Like I may be reaching here, but I think that helps to kind of support my theory a bit. But you make a great point about comparisons to other superhero films. So what I'll do is I'll add a caveat. I'll say that the Superman film in particular didn't show the scope and scale of destruction that would lead you to believe that there was any real casualties. Okay. I would say that that's probably more accurate. But again, making an intentional satire, I don't think takes away from the film. I just think that James Gunn, he's an artist. He's definitely an artist. I think that's something that we can all agree to is he's a consummate artist. He's married to his vision. He's married to the way that he wants to put things together. And I think if there was ever going to be any director who is going to make a superhero like low-key satire to kind of poke fun at the tropes and the cliches of superhero movies, it's going to be him. It's going to be him because I think that he's the only one that can emotionally thread the needle to still deliver that emotional gravity, but that's another thing with the Superman movie for me. I didn't really feel the emotional dramatic, like there was no dramatic weight to this movie for me, unfortunately. And I think it's because it didn't want to take itself seriously. That's kind of where I was at with it.
Yeah, I mean, to a point, I think that the dramaticness came with the idea of the change in his backstory of him coming to Earth to actually conquer it, and him realizing why who he is as a person. I think that's where the dramatic and the heart come from in this movie, more than anything else. And I think a lot of people, they are overlooking that. I'm not saying you, but I think a lot of people are overlooking that because they can't get past that. Oh man, James Gunn made a change to this story that has been this story for not the entire 80 years of Superman, but everybody thinks it's been for his story for the entire time. It hasn't been, but everybody thinks it has been, and they also don't understand that this type of story has been explored in the past, not like this, but it has been explored, and people just can't accept it because one, it's James Gunn, and two, it's in a major motion picture for Superman, so it's hard for them to grasp. So they're overlooking the emotional depth that story can actually bring to the movie, because they're like, what? He's there to conquer it, and he's there to mate with all the women and bring Krypton back, that Kryptonians back that way? How dare James Gunn do that? Instead of sitting back and saying, whoa, that's crazy that they made that change, and man, how's Clark going to deal with that, and how's he going to understand that? Oh, it's because, okay, now I understand. It's he accepts humanity as his true self, not his Kryptonian past, and blah blah blah. It's kind of like that. People they just don't want to see that, and that's the emotional depth of the movie, I think, right there. And you should be able to see it, because I think Cornswit's acting was so great, especially at the end when he's sitting there telling, like, no, Lex, I this, I that, whatever it is that he says. He says all that, and that's like the moment where it's like, that's where he understands, like, I get it here. Like, I am human. That's why I am who I am. Not because of what my father, my birth father sent me here to do. It's because I'm human because of this stuff. And that's why I'm better than you are, Lex. Like, you're the monster. You're the one that was, born here, and look at you, and people just can't see that because they're so upset.
Well, one of the reasons I don't think they can see it, man, is because it's associated. So here's the other issue I took with the film. So one of the biggest stories, or sorry, one of the things James Gunn likes to talk about the most when he's being interviewed for the movie is how he broke the story, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how he called Peter and said, "Hey, I finally found my way in. I finally broke the story." But if you really think about it, that he didn't really break the story. He kind of broke somebody else's to break the story on Superman. And that's, like there's a lot of layers to that. So, I'm not going to try and hold anybody's feet to the fire for that, but there's a lot of layers to that. But I can see where other Superman fans are coming from, where the entire emotional arc of Clark's story is now associated with something that they may just fundamentally disagree with as Superman fans. So trying to get people to invest in that, to invest in Clark's emotional journey, trying to get somebody to agree with Clark's emotional journey, or to identify with Clark's emotional journey after doing that to the story, that's tough, man. That's a tough ask of the audience.
Yeah.
Because you're asking them to accept something that they may fundamentally disagree with. So I thought that was just poorly thought out, and really, and they really didn't game out how it would land on people. And I think that ended up being a huge issue. The other thing too is that now that Jor-El and Lara are space Nazis, basically, and Superman is wearing the House of El sigil on his chest, there needed to be some sort of transformational process in this story. And I'm really sad that they didn't find a way to do that. What I would have done is, when he goes back to see his parents, I would have had his mom already make the traditional Superman S and just say, "Hey, listen, your name's Superman. This is all you need." And go with the traditional S over the Kryptonian S sigil or whatever. I think that would have been like a transformational moment to that story. And they missed the opportunity for it.
That's actually that would have been a really nice. Actually, what would have worked out really well, like not even going back to his to his mom, like if he would have gone or maybe like going to, he would have made a stop at Smallville real quick, and he just stops by to say hi to mom and stuff like that, and she goes, "Hey, I packed something for you." And he just takes the bag, and then he goes to the Fortress of Solitude before he sits in, it's the ending scene and stuff like that. But what he does is he hands the bag to Four, and he goes, "Hey, my mom gave me this. Just put it somewhere." And Four opens it up, and it's the new suit, and there's a note that has something like written on it like that. And then he's sitting back, and it's the music playing as he's seeing everything, and it kind of expands on the whole aspect of, look, this is your mother who knows what you need. These are your parents you've accepted. Like that, I think that would have been really cool, like going in that direction though.
I love that idea. But I think it would that the impact would have been a lot higher if the final fight would have been with him with a different sigil on his chest, the traditional Superman sigil on his chest. And, because his mom's watching the news, right? His mom's watching the news. She knows what's going on. And just having her sort of take that initiative to do it for him, that just would have been a really cool way to connect his parents to him as Superman and not just as Clark Kent. I think that would have been like really, really, really sick way of doing that. But I like your idea too.
Yeah. Oh, thanks. Yeah, I don't know, but I wanted a new suit. Like, don't get me wrong, I love this suit, I do. But the one thing that, again, it falls into this is a ridiculous comic book movie. His suit kept getting damaged, and then it wasn't damaged, and then it was damaged. It wasn't damaged. I was like, what's going on here? So I thought that was kind of weird. But
I think that was editing, dude. I think that there was some editing going on in the final stages, and they lost some stuff and fixed some stuff, and but
yeah, I mean, there's definitely probably easily another 40 minutes on that editing room floor somewhere.
Absolutely, yeah.
And
Yeah, there's
I would
definitely
love to
another
see it
40
at some
minutes.
point for sure. I'm not going to sit here and
Yeah.
call for the gun cut, but I would love to see that footage in some form or fashion at some point, because I think it would definitely expand on some things for sure. So I definitely would like to see it.
What do you like about the suit?
What do I like? I first off, I'm a fan of the trunks. I've always been a fan of the trunks, but I'm also a fan of not trunks. Like to me, it doesn't. I could take it one way or the other. So I do like the trunks because it does, to me, it feels more Superman. It always has.
Right.
I mean, I grew up and that's Superman wore the trunks, and I watched the cartoons when I was a kid. He was wearing the trunks.
Yeah.
Whenever I started reading comics, he had the trunks. So that's Superman to me. And I get the idea, like, people don't like him, but it is what it is. So I like that. I loved the crest. I do love the Kingdom Come logo, and I thought it was a bold choice to go that direction. I really was like, wow, that's bold. I definitely was kind of hoping that we would have gotten a few different versions of the suit, though, that would have led to that. Like, I was hoping that maybe we got like the old shield, like the original shield, and then, later got that. But regardless, I do love that. I thought the coloring was great. I liked how in certain light it looked a little darker, in other light it looked brighter. That's what kind of fooled me in the behind the scenes photos all the time, and those leaked photos, because I was like, oh, that's got to be a new suit because it's brighter, but it's darker there and it's brighter there. It's got to be a new suit, right? So that's what always fooled me. But I did like how in certain light it looked brighter and it looked, more majestic, but then in other light it was more dark. So the cape was, I thought, perfect. I was never a fan of the logo on the cape because I always felt like it looked like a Halloween costume.
Right.
But this cape actually sold me on it. Once you get a better look at it, you can see how it kind of is sewn into the cape, whereas like other versions have always been like a iron on to the cape.
Sure.
So this one I thought looks better. I'm not saying I'm not sitting there saying, oh, I want that always on every Superman cape, but this one worked for me. So I did. I loved the suit, and I thought that there were certain scenes that really worked where you could see the stature of Corn Sweat, and you were like, damn, that guy's imposing. Although there was that moment when he's coming out of the craft on the beach, and it's like, why is he wearing a diaper? So there, again, there's moments in this movie that just like, if you're editing a scene, just edit that scene, James. Like, just edit that scene. Like, we know he's coming off the ship. Like, open the door and show him walking, and then just edit him where he's off the ship, and we don't need to see him walking that it looks like he's wearing a diaper.
Have you seen my thought experiment about the trunks?
No, I didn't.
You haven't seen it?
No.
All right. I'll walk you through it. So, I'm not a fan of trunks on any superheroes. I'm just not. I just don't think it looks right. I think it's outdated. I think it's juvenile. I know that it comes from, Victorian era, strong men and wrestlers and stuff. But the reason the trunks were used for those guys was to cover their junk so it wouldn't be seen. So there's not really a flattering message in that for me that like, hey, Victorian strongmen used it. So here's how I look at it, right? And this could just be the Asperger's, but like, I'm all about utility and practicality and a fundamental ability to use things. And the way I see it is like this. If you found two identical Supermen, one without trunks and one with trunks, and you gave them a mission to charm a Lois Lane or the same Lois Lane in a bar, I would argue that the trunkless Superman is going to have is going to be more successful in charming that Lois Lane, because you don't have to make, like, I feel like any woman would be looking down and being like, why are you wearing your underwear over your pants, dude? And the trunkless Superman just doesn't have to deal with that. So I feel like it just doesn't have any value to it. It doesn't have a practical use to it. The belt is non-functional. It's like a spoiler on a Honda Civic. Like, it's just non-functional. So it just doesn't make any sense to me. I get why people like it. People want the tie back to the they want the tie back to the Golden Age and the Silver Age and all that, and that's awesome. But I just think it looks more modernized, and I get the argument about wanting to have some humility and look approachable to children, but I just don't buy that argument. I think that argument's kind of a cop out a little bit. I don't think it makes them any more kid friendly, because I think Superman's a character where if he was out in the world, he's just rescuing people all the time. He's going to be in the news. Kids are going to know who he is. They're going to know about his feats, right? And I just don't think, why would you be scared of the guy that's saving everybody all the time, right? Like it just doesn't really, it just doesn't track for me. That's all. But yeah, that's my thought experiment.
I take a look. So with that Lois experiment, I'm somebody who, who I'm with now, my fiance Dominique, she, like I said, her and I are complete opposites. Never in a million years would I thought her and I would get together. But I'm a funny guy. Like, I joke around, and she likes funny guys. I'm
Sure.
not saying that Lois would like that, but I would use the trunks to my advantage if I was Superman in that instance. I would,
I could see you doing that.
I
could see you doing that.
And I would use it to my advantage. So, in that regard, I could make it work. But anyways, no, I can see it. Like, for instance, Batman, no trunks. Like, I honestly don't want to see trunks on Batman in the DCU, because I don't think the vigilante of the night, Batman, like, he doesn't need to have trunks. Like, what's the point? There's no reason for him to have trunks, the trunks, none at all. Even a Robin, like, he doesn't need to have trunks. These other heroes, they don't at all. Superman, though, it's a little more iconic. Is there any reason? They made a reason for doing it for the movie, but they didn't add it into the movie. I think if they would add it into the movie in some way, I think it may help with some people that don't like it, but they never do. They never say, like, that's one of the things with the Nolan movies. They explain why they make a new suit. Like, you have Batman Begins, and he's got this suit, which is the best suit in the Nolan trilogy, but they make a new suit that's shitty, and they're like, well, we had to make it shitty because I couldn't turn my neck. It's like, oh, okay. Well, then we move on from there. So, it's kind of like, in most of these movies, they never do, like, they never talk about, like, oh, you just have a new suit. Okay, you move on, and we accept it. Talk about why you're making a suit. Like, just make an offhanded comment, like they did in the Nolan films. Like, oh, the trunks are there, because the kids find me more approachable. Something like that. It's an offhanded comment. Boom, you're done. You move on. I think people would be more accepting of it then, but regardless, we're probably going to get 1, 2, 3, 10 more suits for Superman in this universe. So I'm sure at some point we won't see the trunks again. It is what it is. So. Yeah,
no, for sure. The one thing I felt that was missing from Superman was Guy Gardner busting Superman's balls about his underwear. I was like, that should have been in there. That would have been tone perfect. Like, Guy Gardner making a diaper joke about Superman, like during some sort of confrontation, like some heated sort of static. That would have been hilarious.
I mean, I think it would have been perfect while they were fighting the Kaiju. Like, hey, diaper man, what are you doing over there? Like, something like that. Just
that totally would have been funny. That would have been funny.
Totally on brand for him, but for sure. I don't know, man. This great talk. I do got to get going here.
Dude. Great talk. Enjoyed it.
Like, hour and a half. But
and thanks to your chat. They've all been really great, and I appreciate
Trayvon likes you. I know he's excited. We definitely got to do this again sometime, and we can share the love, go on your show or do whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, bro. No, definitely come on with us, man. We go deep, man. Like, we've had some deep cut episodes. We went into Watchmen like you would not believe. We got philosophical. We got existential. Like, it was crazy. I'm talking about the TV series, not the
Yeah.
not the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I tell you what, that show, it was I enjoyed it, but the ending, to me, the ending just fell flat. I was not.
It did fall flat. Yeah.
Like, it just, yeah, it was just. Oh well.
Thanks, Awesome Joe. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah, awesome discussion.
Meanwhile, back on the podcast is us, but we are switching over. I'll announce my rebranding, the Court of Lore. We're switching over to the Court of Lore as we move forward.
Interesting.
Just have to drop the podcast name because nobody's a podcast anymore. Let's just face facts.
Yeah.
We're all just media brands, and you can find us everywhere now.
Yeah.
You can find us on TikTok. You can find us on Spotify. You can find us on YouTube. You can find us everywhere. So, yeah.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy. It's crazy how things have changed over the last 10 years. I mean, it's absolutely nuts. Crazy.
Absolutely. Well, listen, man, thank you for being such a great host.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Great conversation, and let's catch up again.
Yeah, definitely. Cool, man. Thank you very much.
All right, man. Peace.
See you. All right. Let's let me figure this out here real quick. It's that button, right? There we go. I'm back to it. I'd love to see Batman in Trunks to truly differentiate itself from other iterations, as Trevon. I know. Everybody wants to see Trunks on everybody, right? No, I definitely want to thank Frank for being on here. It was great. I didn't get to the other thing I wanted to talk about, so I'll probably just do a video about it later and just really talk about that in depth on a random video. But thank you, everybody, for checking out the show. Hopefully, everything looked good, sounded good. Like I said, this is a new program I'm using, so if you have any issues, let me know in the comments below if you think that there were any issues with this stream. A new program, so it's a lot of fun. So yay! Woo! New program, new thing. Woohoo! Yeah, woo! Got new sound effects and stuff. That's gonna get annoying, isn't it? Probably. Anyways, guys, thank you all so much for checking out the show. I will be back on Monday with Slav's Free Talk podcast, where we talk all things pop culture, whether it's Marvel, DC, everything from up top, bottom, all that kind of stuff. So make sure you check out Monday, 8:30 p.m. for that. And with all that said, guys, I will catch you all later.
The bat signal's lit and the Joker's in town. Wonder Woman's strength never backing down. Aquaman's rise, Flash of speed. It's the world of DC, it's all you need. We'll dive into the stories that you thought you knew. The Watchtower's the place where the mysteries brew. From the latest movie to the comic book finds, every detail's uncovered, every secret unwind. This is the Watchtower, legends are born. DC's calling, will keep you warm. From the comics to the screen, it's all in the air. Slav's got the scoop, so you better be there. Yeah, be there. So if you're a fan or you're just getting started, come on up to the Watchtower, where the fun never parted. From Superman's cape to Green Lantern's ring, we're talking it all, it's a DC thing. Oh, this is the Watchtower, legends are born. DC's calling, will keep you warm. From the comics to the screen, it's all in the air. Slav's got the scoop, so you better be there. So come hang out where the heroes all fly. The Watchtower's the place, don't even ask why. We're diving in deep and we're flying so high. This is the Watchtower, and we'll never say goodbye.